Hi everyone, welcome to the SoccerBeat podcast, and once again we're talking Chiefs, reviewing their final preseason friendly of their Netherlands tour. Before we crack on, guys, about 3/4 of you are not subscribed but are listening regularly, so if you can click that subscribe button, that's going to be a big help to us. Okay, so Tsepo, final game, FC Twente, another defeat. I don't know, I think this game might be quite beneficial for Chiefs. Watching it myself, this was an intense game for them. This was a proper opponent, they who came to play, who looked fit as well. Some of the other teams, also looked a bit preseason, kind of, a bit slower. What did you make of the game, and how do you think Chiefs are shaping up now after this final of 5 games in 9 days? Quite a whirlwind tour for them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they played a strong opponent today. And in fairness, the opponent outplayed them, outscored them. They were dominant in throughout the whole game. Chiefs uh, hardly created chances, and they were struggling again. There, most of the game was played in the Kaizer Chiefs out. So yeah, it's a good test also, and a good feedback for the coach. So you want to throw in your young boys like the striker Hlongwane, against such opponents, and they get a run in the field, and they see, which is some team they're really strong, and also the coach, he knows, in tough games like this, how to react with his team, or how to plan where going to tough game like this.
Yeah, I honestly think this game will bode well for Chiefs because, Twente were a very good pressing team, counter press well. They had lots of runners from midfield. They had a very physical team, a lot of muscular players. A lot of Chiefs players got knocked off the ball and appealed for free kicks that weren't given. So I feel like this is going to really step up their fitness a lot. And that's really the whole point of coming to the Netherlands, is to play opponents better than you, so that when you come to the PSL and you've had a tough preseason, maybe it feels, let's say, not easier, but you feel ready and prepared for the PSL level when you play at a higher level. Obviously for Hlongwane playing up top, he got a half, and also for him, he's coming from the DDC level. He hasn't played PSL yet, and now he's playing against some good opponents. That's going to really bode well for his development. And it looks like he might have even jumped ahead of Morris in the queue, because Morris came on at halftime, but he only played 30 minutes and then got hooked for Wandile Duba. So I don't know what you think, but we might see Hlongwane maybe even feature off the bench in the one or two of the early PSL games, because he's shown quite a lot of promise, even though he might not be the most physical player. He's this quite clear talent there.
Yeah, the talent is there. The talent is there, but he still has a lot of hard work ahead of him. And also age is still on his side. And maybe yes, for now we might say he's ahead of Morris, and yeah, but only time will tell. But with today's game, you can't really be harsh on the boy. Also, he needs to work on his physique. And because in games like this where the opponent presses high, they don't give you time and space, especially in the build-up phase. That's where you look at going direct to a striker. The striker can hold the ball, so it allows his teammate to join him, and the whole team can push up. It's either he does that, or he makes those runs behind to push the defense of the opponent, slightly deep, so they can get joy, and get the team up, and to progress into the opponent's half. But yeah, it's such trips and such games, to be involved with the first team. It's a experience and a learning curve for the young boy, and I'm sure he can only grow from here. We've seen also the McCarthy boy, is done well throughout the friends that they've played. He's raised his hand, hey, giving the coach a headache. So it's also good to see McCarthy boy doing well.
Yeah, I think McCarthy seems to. I mean, he might even be pushing to start that first game, because Dortley's out and Simango we haven't seen. If he's on the tour, he's definitely not fully fit yet and training properly. Bradley Cross got injured in the first game, hasn't played 1 minute since, and he did struggle a bit in that first match as well. So McCarthy might feel it's him or Kwanika for that first game. I'm interested to know what you make of the left back position. We've talked so much about it. We know Marco's out and he might be out for a little while. We know Coach Farrakhan is quite sold on Shinga already. I think I'm a bit less so. I think he looks quite raw. Teams have really exposed him quite a lot, drag him out, play behind him. He's trying to invert a little bit as well, maybe under the coach's instructions, and doesn't quite understand that role. So there's Frosler, and there's the other one is McCarthy to play left back, of course. He made his full debut against Sekakuna as a left back. It's a bit of a position. I mean, I think Michael might miss the first game or two with that broken arm. So how do you see it? Who would you line up in that first game? Especially because if you play Frosler, you've got Monyane. So it's almost like Monyane or Shinga, basically. It's not, and Frosler can be on whichever side is left.
To be honest, when I look at Shinga, interesting player, but is defensively there's still question marks in my opinion. I've seen like even the second goal today, and there's a couple of times, I don't know, in the previous game where he got beaten on a 1v1 situation. Then your primary job as a defender is to win those duels. You want to be on top of the winger. That's how you gain confidence. And listen, it's comfortable on the ball. That we can't argue with. But again, because of him inverting most of the time, I found it was dragging Lilipo to receive the ball too deep in his half, more like a left back. So I couldn't really understand what's the connection or idea, of him inverting that much. But again, those are training ground things there, and it's things that they've worked on the training ground. And maybe as time goes by, we'll see it more clear. What's the idea, what's the thinking with him inverting. But what I can say is comfortable on the ball, and in the attack, I can't say he's a Marcelo in the attack again. So I'm yet to be sold, but let's give him time. But again, he will have to work on his defensive duties, because winners in the PSL, they tricky and fast.
Yeah, I think it might be a steep learning curve, maybe for 6 months, maybe training, playing the odd game, a few sub appearances, maybe he comes in even as a winger just to see out a result or two. And then maybe after December, January, we start to see him maybe push for minutes. So on a tactical level, we've seen a little bit of inverting from the fullbacks, maybe just to get that winger to come low and then he gets the ball to feet. But these teams in Europe are quite wise to that. Maybe in the PSL, we'll see more joy with it. The other thing as well, we've seen the last 2 games, we spoke in our last one as well. He's kind of gone with he's more gone to 2-8s in the last 2 games. Chislett's a bit deeper, so he's a bit more involved because he was a bit stranded in his games as the number 10. And then we've seen McLeod as an 8, Taylor was an 8 today, and then they took turns kind of to jump up next to the striker to press. Just leaves that gap at the number 6 position because Samkelo Zwane's kind of maybe dropped down the pecking order in this preseason. I thought Mabaso did quite decently in the last 2 games as a youngster. It's just Mthethwa as a 6, and Lovu's not really a 6, so they seem to have a lot of players who kind of like in between this position. That midfield is concerning me a little bit. I'm really interested to know, like, I know Taylor is definitely on the team sheet, probably the vice captain, he's a cut above, and I'm thinking Lovu's going to be thrown in because of his quality, but who's the third one? I mean, do they just go 2 and play a 10? Do they play McLeod? I mean, I think McLeod looks quite sharp physically for a player that's injured so much. I hope he can take his chance in that short-term contract. Who would be your third man as it stands today?
As you said, again, it depends on the shape, of the system. Are they gonna go with a 2-8, or are they going for a 4-3-3 with 1 sitting and two in front of the holding midfielder? But as you said, maybe clearly, I think Ox is in the mix, for now. And I think they will go with a number 10, but the number 10, it depends who they play there. Because we've seen them try Nshili Ngobo. They still have a Shabalala who can play as a 10. Sereno sometimes plays as a 10, and Chislett also plays as a 10, so I think it's a fight for that number 10 role. It's a huge fight, and yeah, maybe Sereno do Shabalala for now, because those are the more settled guys.
Okay, and then let's sum up the preseason. I think let's try and give our 3 players we think maybe who've impressed the most. We can look at established players, or guys who maybe just put their hand up a little bit more than you expected, and if maybe you thought might lose their place and you've played well, and then 3 guys who maybe not taken their chances and might find themselves a little bit sort of, I wouldn't say frozen out, but they might be left in the stands a little bit. Who would you say is your top 3 and maybe most disappointing 3 so far in these 5 matches?
No, obviously Aden McCarthy. I'm quite impressed and sold on that one. And Monyane, the right back, Thabiso. He looks decent on the ball, and also he's defending. His positioning in defense, also for crosses. He for me, I'm also I was impressed with him. Coming from Pirates, a new team, new teammates. Sometimes players take a while to settle, but it looks like he settled very well. And obviously, Kabakele, is my guy. He's my guy.
And are there three that maybe haven't shone too much?
Silva, I know he's new to the team, but again, do we have that confidence in him that he's gonna bang in the goals? Not yet, but they're still trying. There's still time, and the other two guys, it's a tough one. But also for Chisler, I'm not that much. I know that these are the new guys in the setup, but sometimes you get in the team and we can see the touch as much as the opponents are tough, but we can see here this is what we're getting, and yeah, the two new guys, and maybe a bit of Solomon's, with Thabiso doing so well in this preseason tour, and you also have a River that can play on the right. So now it makes the competition, more tougher for that right back spot. And obviously River, we saw a couple of games playing on the left, but we're assuming when Marco is back fit, he'll also get a chance on the left hand side. So it pushes River back to the right side, of defense, so right back. So it's gonna be a tough one also for Solomons, and if Thabiso can, keep it up, raise his game slightly more higher from what we've seen. Also, it makes the competition interesting, and we like competition. We want to see players compete for their sport, and it pushes the next guy.
Fair enough. I think I'll go for Ignacio Miguel because, yes, he had a good first season, but I think he's been really steady in this preseason as the captain. Even with the team's pressing, his build-up's been good. He's calm, a little bit less rash. Actually, I've been impressed with Pule Modi. I know some people have been criticizing him. It's not really about the penalty ones today. I think he's just been lively and maybe responding to some competition for his spot. And I'd probably go with Monyane as well, just because we kind of see why he played 70-odd games for as a Rivero through a team that won 5 trophies. He looks mature now. He defensively would maybe have been the questions early in his career, but now he looks like a really steady defender. And no one would be surprised if he starts that first game. He's pushing really to deserve that starting place. And I think Solomon as well, because he's going to be really the third choice right back now. It's going to take a lot for him to get a game, and he struggled a bit today. I think Shinga just a little bit more raw than I was hoping, but he'll probably come good in the second half of the season. The third one, I think I'm probably going to have to say Ox. Yes, I think Morris people have been critical of, and even Silva, but I'm just a bit worried about Ox's ball handling there in that position. And if they're playing 1-6, I don't think he's the man for it, and then they have to play with a 10. So I think if they want to play with 8s, they're missing someone there, and Ox hasn't really done his chances that much good in my opinion, but maybe I'll be proved wrong when the first game comes. So Chiefs are one more friendly. Guys, thanks for tuning in for all this coverage of this preseason. We've covered 4 out of the 5 games. Chiefs have played 5 games in 9 days, so also be patient with them. Their legs are heavy, and it's been a tough preseason. Tsepo, thanks so much. I'm sure we'll chat after the 26th in that friendly that they play in the Toyota Cup.